Hey you guys, today is Sunday, March the 5th. It is a beautiful sunny day. It's finally starting to feel like spring, and today I wanted to talk to you about growing basil. Yeah, so back on February 24th, I started my basil. And so it's been 9 days, and I'm really pretty excited to show you the progress of how my basil is growing. I tried something new this year, and I'm pretty excited. Every year I grow my own basil because we do have a lot of Italian dishes, and I love to have fresh basil in my tomato gravy or tomato sauce, whichever way you'd like to say it. But, this year I've become encouraged to try more varieties of basil and actually grow a basil garden because I like the video that I was watching with Jessica from Roots and Refuge showing how she made the basil tea. So I thought, I have plenty of room. I'm going to grow an actual basil garden and see which varieties I like the best and see how well they germinate. Now, I think my favorite basil to grow that I've been growing for some years is the Genovese basil, and most of my basils here are going to be from Baker Creek. This is a larger leaf basil that grows beautiful and tall. It's got that wonderful traditional basil fragrance to it. It tastes delicious on sliced tomatoes, tomato gravy. I like to add it to pasta salad. It gets a nice big full leaf, and I'm able to just roll them up and cut them into ribbons and add them to whatever it is that I want to taste traditional basil in. This was very, very easy to grow. It's a wonderful candidate to grow in a basic flower pot on a windowsill, and you can have basil most of the year growing in your kitchen with a variety like this. Now, this one in particular does grow a little bit bigger, but I'm going to show you one that is more pot friendly, which is the Emily basil. And this has a very similar fragrance and flavor as the Genovese. Again, perfect for sauces, gravies, and as I'm going to get into the tea recipes that I'm going to try to make. This clumps up into a nice round shape, a nice dome, if you'll say, of basil. And this is one that I highly recommend. Now, basil that I like to plant in the garden direct sowed, is the lettuce leaf basil. Again, this grew very easy. I just throw the seeds in, it grows into these big, giant, full leaves. And the thing about this is it has an actual licorice flavor to it, like the star anise flavor. So the flavor itself was not really one of my favorites. However, it does really, really well in the garden, and it does seem to repel insects. So once I started adding this in and letting it go to seed, it really attracted beneficial birds who not only came in for the basil seed, but they're in there taking out the insects as well. So this is something that you can offer to our little feathered friends that you want to bring to the garden. And offer them a healthy organic treat without actually having to worry about filling up a bird feeder for. I do also think that the lettuce leaf basil would make a very interesting addition to a basil tea for a different flavor, and of course its medicinal purposes. So with the tea in mind, I'm really just intrigued by doing this, and there are so many things that you can do with basil leaves. So if you're going to, you can use them fresh, as Jessica showed us, in the basil tea. You can hang them to dry if you have an area to do that. And a lot of basil, I didn't know this until this year, is a great candidate to just wash, let it dry, and then stack it up into all the leaves on top of each other and put them inside of freezer bags, and it holds up incredibly in the freezer. Now, of course, when it defrosts, it doesn't really look the same or have the same consistency, but all of its flavor is still there. And you can just take it and almost shatter it while it's still frozen into your recipe, and you still get that wonderful flavor. So I'm going to do that with really all of these varieties, in addition to hanging them in beautiful ribbon tied off upside down in the greenhouse to see if I can get them to dry so that I can keep it in the cabinet as well. So this year, a new variety from Botanical Interest that I'm trying is the Tulsi holy basil. I have heard that this is a wonderful addition to the tea recipes. And I'm going to combine that with the Thai sweet. Now I think that this has a beautiful burgundy flower to it. This is another addition that I think will probably be beautiful direct sowed into the garden for the benefits of repelling insects, attracting beneficial birds, and just the beautiful flowers. Some of the other basils have lighter pink or yellow flowers, and this is the first where I've seen this beautiful burgundy color, so I'm excited for that, and I think that the Tulsi is going to have more of the pink flower, so I'm really excited for those for the tea. Now I grew this lemon basil, oh my gosh, last year, you guys, for the first time. This, I could not believe it. When I handled the leaves, it actually let off this incredible fragrance, like I had just cut into a fresh lemon. This is incredible. The most wonderful recipe that I could tell you to use this for is to mix it in with pasta for an aioio. I say aioio, some people say aioli, or anything that you want to make that oil, you know, for your pasta, or some people use it for the shishito peppers. This is the most incredible lemon flavor that you're going to get. And I thought this would be a wonderful addition to the idea for the tea garden. So I cannot wait to try this as a tea. And I didn't do it last year, I just didn't get around to it. So I went ahead and I also bought it again in the botanical interest variety, just so I can grow them side by side and see if there's a difference in how one germinates to the other. And speaking of germination, I went ahead and bought the lime basil in hopes that this is going to be as wonderful and fragrant as the lemon. If it really offers a true lime flavor, imagine this as a lemon lime tea, as a sweet tea, as a hot tea, in so many recipes. This is just going to be incredible. So this is one that I'm really excited for. And I'm going to show you how it's germinating in just a moment, because there are some more comments about the lime basil. A variety that I got for free was from Greenstalk. And this was just marked as sweet basil. That's all I know about it. It could be anything. It could be Genovese Emily. It could be Tulsi basil. I have no idea. But I thought I'm going to go ahead and grow it and see how it germinates and see what it has to offer. Now here's a basil that I still have not tried, which is the cinnamon basil. It is growing happily. And I imagine this as being a really good autumnal tea. For a hot tea. So some of these, again, I'm going to do cold sweet tea and I'm going to do hot tea for them. And I'm certain there are some other recipes that might call for a spicy flavor that I'm going to add this into. Now, from what I hear, the Tulsi basil would probably be a good companion for it, because I think that this is also known, let's see, oh no, this has a bubblegum flavor? How many people actually read the back of these packages? Obviously, I don't read it enough, but they're saying that the holy basil is distinguished by its bubblegum scent. So, and that it's frost tolerant. Oh, the things I'm learning just sitting here. You see what happens? You can learn something as you try to educate and you try to help other people and encourage them to do something new. You actually learn something yourself. How interesting. So I think I would keep the Tulsi basil and the Thai sweet basil and the Greenstalk basil as one opportunity to merge together for whatever recipe. And then I'll figure out if the cinnamon basil might be good all by itself, again, as a hot tea or a cold tea. One of the basils I grew last year also was this beautiful purple opal. Now I have to tell you, this was one of the most beautiful additions to the garden. It looked beautiful, it held up well, nothing disturbed it, it didn't burn, it didn't get any brown leaves, it grew a beautiful pink flower, it sat next to the beautiful lemon basil with all of its the leaves of the lemon basil are completely different than the Genovese, and these are different as well. So it added visual texture. It was really appealing. I loved seeing it. So I planted a bunch of this because I'm going to have it in my herb garden, and I'm going to actually add it in to my my tomato garden. Now, the tomato garden is where I grew the lettuce leaf basil, and I'm growing enough basil this year where I'm just going to have basil dispersed all through there, but I'm also going to have a separate basil garden. Now, this, even though it had a delicious flavor, its flavor is not as licoricey strong as the lettuce leaf, but I didn't find this to be as pleasing as the Genovese or the Emily basil. And again, if you need to pick just one basil that you're going to grow this year, if you are space restricted, and you're going to do it on your windowsill, I would recommend the Emily. If you have a little bit more space in a place where you can grow basil high, I would go with the Genovese all day, every day. Those two you can have fresh or freeze. This one I didn't try to freeze, and when I tried to add it directly into recipes or add it as a garnish, the one thing I noticed about it was that its leaf stayed very, very firm, and its texture, it was chewy, and it didn't really break down very well as you chewed it, and you almost found yourself like you could feel it, clumpy in whatever it was that you were eating it with. But it does look beautiful as a garnish, and it smells wonderful in the garden, and the birds just absolutely loved it. So these are the basils that I'm growing. And again, one of the shining stars for me out of anything that I think is different is this guy right here. Whether you do the Baker Creek or the Botanical Interest, or maybe you know another vendor that's offering this, lemon basil is a beautiful addition to your basil collection. So let's see how the basil is growing that I sowed 9 days ago, and let's see how germination is coming along. Now I want you to notice my container method, and I showed this in another video. I buy 4 of these containers of spinach every single week. And you can also find these containers for spring greens and some other kale mix and things like that in different sizes. This is a 1 pound container that I get from Costco, and they have them smaller in Wegmans if you want just, I think it's a 6 ounce variety. But anyway, they hold these containers together perfectly, and it acts as a little mini terrarium. So I was able to use this for germination, and my basil germinated in 3 days. And I want you to look, you can see how it was leaning towards the sun, so it was time for me to turn it. So you see the Genovese, Emily, the green stalk basil, and the holy Tulsi. They are doing beautifully. I'm very, very pleased. Now over here, again, reaching for the sun, there's that lettuce leaf basil, which you don't have to start if you're going to use that for the garden. You can direct sow any of these actually. But I did 2 cells of those because so much of it is going out into the garden, and as well as the purple opal. I want to make sure I have plenty of that ready to go in. Now, here is my lemon, Thai, cinnamon, and lime. And the one thing I want you to notice here, talking about germination, is the lime basil was a little late for the party. It's coming up, but it's a slow germinating seed. So I want you to keep that in mind if you decide to grow any of these basils. But in just 9 days, I have this. And I really think that this container really was a benefit, because I'll show you an example. I started these are my peppers, which did not germinate. You don't even want to know how upset I am about this. You see I have a few eggplants that came up, and I have 1 keystone resistant and 1 jalapeno and 1 tiny little daytail pepper in the back. I have fussed with this cell with the plastic dome from Jiffy, and I'm really extraordinarily upset about what just happened here. So as I realized, growing some of these things, as we don't all have a greenhouse, we don't all live in a climate where our greenhouse is the most beneficial place to actually start seedlings. A lot of us do this in our kitchen, and we have to accept the fact that a kitchen is a total disaster, which I could show you for entertainment purposes, but I will not. I will save you from that. For all eternity, my messy kitchen will be on the internet. But here's my basil varieties. This is a wonderful way to get started, you guys. It's wonderful. And even if, you only want to grow basil, it's the only thing that you ever grow. This is so easy. I so highly encourage you to do it. And remember, you don't need the trays with the silly, now I'm very upset about these domes. And the mistake I made is I normally tape them down just to make sure I have a good seal. And this year I didn't. So I realize I'm talking about basil. I'm not talking about germinating peppers, but it was just the epiphany was I took my little reused black cells from another garden center purchase from who knows how many years ago. I put them inside of this wonderful little terrarium that I created with these spinach containers, and I'm having the best results. So, it's just proof that if there's a will, there's a way. Seeds really do want to grow. There are some seeds that are easier to grow than others, and basil is definitely one of the easy seeds to grow. So today I'm going to hopefully be heading out into the garden. I keep seeing, look, there's Farmer John back here. I don't know if you can see him behind me. He's back in the garden. He's been working for the past couple days, thatching, and we're getting ready to reseed the grass. We're putting down crabgrass fertilizer, crabgrass preventer and fertilizer and things like that. So we're trying to keep our garden more of a garden and not just a place where we have to go outside and, constantly put all of our effort into growing grass, because you can't eat the grass. So somebody can eat the grass, the goats can eat the grass. We don't have goats though. But you can grow something out there. So anyway, you guys, I'm starting to ramble on because I'm excited that what I was going to say was he's out there getting things ready, and we are going to be filling up one of the new raised beds today, actually the one that we bought from Tractor Supply that's sitting next to the greenhouse. And I'm going to be direct sowing some seeds into there today, even though it's a little chilly. Remember, there are varieties of things you can grow directly in the garden in cool weather, and today is the day to start that. So I hope you enjoyed watching my basil selection. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, I would really wish that you would love to have you here. I'm really enjoying chatting with everyone, and actually, now that our channel is growing, I feel like I'm actually talking to people that I'm getting to know. And I can say, my friends out there who are following our channel, following our journey, and hopefully being encouraged by what it is that we're doing. So consider subscribing. Please hit the notification bell if you like this content. Spam us with some hearts, make some comments. Please interact with us. If you have more knowledge, please offer it. If you have questions, please post them. Every question is a good question. And when you ask a question, if I have an answer or if somebody else has an answer, we all learn something. Just like I learned something from reading the back of the basil package that I hadn't read before. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching my basil video, and I'll see you in the next video. If you stay to the end, tell me what it is that you see happening here. Oh, it's so exciting.